Welcome to another edition of Mailbag. Now, Mailbag is a feature of the channel where I discuss questions and comments that you guys leave on my channel. Some of them I can answer, some of them I can't, and some of the comments I feel should be shared with you. But right now, into the first Mailbag item of this session. Remember, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Go over to Instagram and follow me there. Go over to Facebook, follow me there. That's where the normal notices are. And consider becoming a Patreon. Okay, next one. From Santiago Ramos. In response to upgrading the Roland drivers for Catalina version 10.5, a video that has had one hell of a lot of comments on it. And he writes, hi, how are you? I have a question. I want to use the Roland SV 700 Studio. Of course, the drivers are no longer valid with Catalina. But if I buy the Roland MIDI interface 1, will that allow me to use the controllers? Will the automated favours mode? I don't mind rerouting all the controls. Thanks for your time. I've got to be honest here, Santiago. I have little knowledge of the SV 700 unit. But what I would say was other similar units with the USB connection to the computer is the key to its use. And this is one of my big concerns over where we are in the music industry at the moment, and the fact that so many things rely on the programming on the computer to make them work the way that you want them to. It's not like olden days where the keyboard had virtually all the logic built into it, or the device had all the logic built into it. What they've been doing is to allow things to be updated and features and bugs and what have you to be fixed. They have been coding a lot of this into the firmware, into software that accompanies the unit, and therefore once the manufacturer drops support for this, all those features and functions go out the window. I mean, it's very much similar to this thing that's sitting behind me, this Muse receptor, in that, you know, that company ceased trading 5 years ago, and can you find certain things for it? I'm sure they exist somewhere on a dark corner of the internet, but at the moment I'm struggling to get hold of certain things. Anyway, so I have a little unit of this, and as I said, the USB connection is kind of the key to its use. So I'm not sure I can really give you a direct yes or no. However, this is how the computer does send commands to the surface, and if the commands are sent a control change messages on MIDI, then over USB, then the answer is possibly you can reroute those MIDI signals from USB to MIDI messages and bypass the USB bus and get them to move onto the surface using MIDI. Now, what I would say is I think it's a lot of work for probably very little gain. But you know, if you can reroute the MIDI message, I suspect it can be done. I'm sorry, I can't really be of more help on this particular item because I just don't know the unit per se. All I can really give you is the pointers, and as I say, this whole area I just see as manufacturers just lining their own pockets, unfortunately, because they are able to discontinue support for something, bring something new to the market, and if you want to continue using that type of unit, you either got to stop upgrading your operating system, which is kind of what I've had to do with the Mac for one or two things now because of Big Sur. Windows is going to get there very shortly because a lot of things that had Windows 10 support, I can almost guarantee will not be supported on Windows 11. So, you know, this is sort of kind of where we are in terms of where the industry is moving. And unfortunately, it's not the top end artists that have the problem because they have the money to fix it. It's the It's the mid-range artists and the garage musicians and, you know, people like me, because we don't have bottomless pits of money. And in order to keep your instruments up and running, you know, you're going to have to go and spend money. It's why I like legacy kit. Legacy kit, you don't, all right, it goes wrong, but you don't have to keep your operating system and your drivers and your this and your that up to date, purely because the manufacturers or the, you know, the operating system manufacturers or the manufacturers are going to drop support for something. It's a situation we've kind of driven ourselves into, and a situation I'm not sure we can drive ourselves out of unless there's some radical changes by certain manufacturers into the way they support discontinued items. This next one comes from Shufflepunk, and it's in response to setting up the MIDI and the switches on the Kordbot, a video I did in 2019, March 2019. Whenever I set up Audiobus on the iPad with the Kordbot and set all the Kordbot settings on wireless MIDI and connect it via Audiobus and send it to Tar You Know, for example, I hear nothing. How come? And again, another one of those issues where you can only give general advice. I can only give you my method for diagnosing this issue, really. The first thing is I would look at is how far is the Kordbot signal going. Can you, on the Audiobus application, see notes being triggered from the Kordbot? Most applications like this have some sort of screen showing the keys that are being played. So it's low hanging fruit and it looks good in demos. If it does, then you can confirm the note data is being received by the Audiobus application. I suspect that's probably where the issue's coming. If this is yes, then the issue is routing from the application. And if not, it could be a wireless connection issue between the Kordbot and the Audiobus. So you basically try to rule out the connection between the two points. Wireless is great, but I don't like it. Personally, I think it's a nightmare. I think running anything wireless in a studio just makes no sense whatsoever. And there are lots of reasons why I think it makes no sense whatsoever, by the way. But especially when it doesn't work, because when it doesn't work, trying to work out where it's broken and what part of the wireless infrastructure is broken is an utter nightmare. I mean, it's bad enough when you're trying to debug an office network, and I know this because I watched the engineers do it when they've got problems trying to work out why one network node won't talk to another network node. But when you're trying to do it in wireless on Bluetooth, you know, you're just adding in a level of complexity you just don't need. So you're trying to work out, you know, is the transmitting device actually transmitting? Is the receiving device actually receiving? Are they using the same protocols, or are they using incorrect protocols? Are they transmitting at the same speed? Is there a speed issue? Are they just not handshaking whatsoever? So the other thing I would try here is just get rid of the audio, the wireless connection between the two devices, and plug a cable in, which might require you, of course, having to go and get a MIDI device that is compatible with the iPads, which invariably will mean you've got to go and buy the camera USB lightning adapter for your iPad, which will probably set you back about 40 or 50 quid, because they're not cheap. I know that because I've got two of them. So, you know, that way you can then actually play the thing directly into the iPad, and if it works that way, you know definitely well that the two devices aren't happy talking to each other wireless. I think that's the first thing to do, is try to eliminate wireless from this equation. If you can eliminate wireless from the equation, then maybe you've got a chance of working out where the problem is actually coming in.